If you've seen any of my rowing machine reviews before, you know that I very often end up having to rip into these cheaper budget rowers from Amazon. Today we're going to be talking about the Merach magnetic rower that you can get for about $200 on Amazon right now. And when the company sent this machine to me, by the way, they did not pay me to make this review, they just sent it over for a free and honest review. When the package got here, I had already preconceived notions in my mind that this was gonna be just like all the other cheap budget Amazon rowers. But in today's review video, I'm gonna tell you everything about this machine and why it's actually probably the best budget rower out there. And I wanna preface the review by saying I was actually pretty impressed with what this has to offer for how cheap it is. Is it still gonna be worth your money? How does it stack up to the other rowers that are out there? Let's get into it. As far as the setup goes, it's pretty smooth sailing. It took me about 20 minutes to set up the rower, and I'm not particularly fast at setting up equipment, and I definitely messed up a couple things, but 15 to 20 minutes is all you're really gonna expect to need to have this thing up and ready to go. And once it was all set up, it was time for me to see if I actually fit on the rower. I'm 6'8" and about 230 pounds, and I actually don't fit on a lot of the budget rowers that are out there. I just recently did a review on a cube rower where I couldn't even fully extend my legs. But here we are on this cheap Merach rower where I can confidently say that it's built for tall people. I can fully straighten my legs out, and there's still a little bit of room. Even if I hinge forward and try to scoot the seat back more, you've got more room. I've got a 36-inch inseam. This probably supports to 38, maybe 40, but I would say 38 is like a safe bet. And it has a 350-pound weight capacity, so statistically speaking, most people are gonna fit on this just fine. What I really like about the design of the rower is that it fits long bodies, but it really doesn't take up a ton of space. It does not come with this iPad. It does have an iPad and phone holder, but as far as storing this thing goes, you simply would pick it up and store it vertically, just like you would do for something like a Concept 2. It doesn't have any funky folding or compacting or anything to do. You just put it up, put it in the corner, and it's good to go. And it's fairly lightweight. I'll put the weight of it right here, but it doesn't feel heavy, but it's made of metal, so it feels pretty sturdy too. So I think they really found a nice combination of making something that's compact, accessible, and sturdy feeling without weighing a gazillion pounds. Okay, let's get into some of the features of the rower. So, look what we have here, rotating foot plates. This is one of the most dumb things that are on all these budget rowers. Why? I have no idea, because when you row, you wanna use your leg drive to power your stroke. And if your foot plates rotate, you can't get any power when your feet are horizontal. There's literally no reason why foot plates should rotate at all. It doesn't help with storage, it doesn't do anything. But thankfully, this rower has this bar that you install at the bottom that prevents the foot plates from rotating underneath you, which would be a huge issue. And so when you're using this rower, you know, if I could lock these things down onto that bar, I would. But since you can't, try to keep your heels down in the bottom of these foot plates onto that bar the whole time. When it comes to the foot plates and the different shoe sizes that it works for, there's no adjustment up or down of how big or small your feet should be. And the strap kind of just goes across the middle. So it's gonna fit most shoe sizes, most foot sizes, but because it does not adjust, and just the nature of how it feels too, you know, it's plastic, but it has a little bit of texture on it. This is actually something that I recommend you just row barefoot on, because when you're barefoot and out of your shoes, it brings your feet down lower than if they're in shoes, which tend to have like an elevated heel. And the lower your feet can be, no matter how big or small your feet are, the lower it brings your legs and the easier it is to lean and swing with your rowing stroke. And rowing barefoot on this has not been an issue so far. It actually feels kind of comfy. So you don't even need shoes. They use Velcro to adjust, and it kind of takes a little finicking to get the straps, you know, tight on your feet. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's not like the smoothest, you know, I've ever seen. Oh man, this drives me crazy. Okay, so let's talk about the handlebar. So the handlebar is fairly narrow. I'm a pretty broad dude. And so I appreciate when companies have handles that are a little bit wider to support wider shoulders. And so this bar is pretty narrow. And as far as the grip goes, it's a rubber grip that has kind of this wavy texture on it. But honestly, it's one of those grips where if you kind of twist it, it reminds me of like a bike handle, kind of like a cheap bike handle, where if you kind of rotate your hands on it enough, the rubber will start to split and break over time. I haven't used this rower a ton, but I could imagine that after a few months of use, with the sweat, with the gripping, with the taking the strokes, eventually this rubber would probably start to wear down. So it's definitely one of the lower quality handles that are out there on these budget rowers. Now, as far as the seat goes, the seat is actually really comfortable. I like it a lot. It has just enough firmness, but also just enough give. It's honestly really, really comfy. I like the design here too. They don't have the front end here super elevated. Sometimes with these type of like butt-shaped seats, they'll really elevate the front, which can promote bad posture as far as how you sit. But it's pretty level throughout and gives you that little butt crease in the back here to prevent any sort of that butt crack chafing. It's not made of a material that's gonna soak up your sweat. It's something that just totally wicks away. I really, really like the seat. Now, one thing to note about this rower is that it's pretty low profile. So it's pretty low to the ground. If you're somebody who's bigger, heavier, overweight, you know, as far as like sitting down, it's a bit of a way down. So as far as the accessibility goes, it's a little bit cumbersome in that way. But if getting down and getting up isn't a big issue for you, you're gonna be just fine. So what we have here is a magnetic rower with 16 different resistance levels. And the resistance is controlled using the dial down here, which gives you a digital beep sound as you turn and adjust. And it's very easy to turn and adjust it. You can actually go from 1 to 16 with like a 180-degree turn. So it's pretty quick for quick adjustments. Obviously the mechanism itself like takes a moment to adjust. But as far as the resistance settings go, they can actually get pretty intense. But before I show you those resistance settings and how this thing sounds, we have to address the elephant in the room, or as I call it, the budget rower elephant in the room. And that is the fact that this machine, just like so many other budget rowers, is designed with not a full rowing stroke in mind. And what I'm talking about here is the fact that the handle ends right here in line with the foot plates, which prevents you from getting a full stroke. Because when we take a rowing stroke, we start from the back end position with our body leaning back, our arms come out, we lean our torso, and from here, we bend our legs as much as we can, ideally to knees over ankles. But check it out, you get stopped right here. And this is something that you do not see on water rowers, Concept 2s, Aviron, all these more higher end, better quality rowers. They allow you to get a full rowing stroke every time, to reach your hands past your feet and to allow full leg compression every stroke. But Austin, can't you just lean back a bit and bend your legs more? Sure, but this is not a rowing stroke. This is not how you row and get results. Did you watch the Olympics? Have you seen how the rowers row? Look how much they bend their legs and how much they reach forward. We want our rowing machines to help us emulate that. But once again, we are limited by the hardware. It's so crazy too, because all they have to do is just take this and just move it forward. Like just move it forward a little, please. So you are limited to half strokes, and no, this is not something that has to do with me being tall. It's the same experience for everybody. You want to reach your hands past your feet, and you will not be able to do so. But at least the rail length is long enough for you to get a nice, good back end of each rowing stroke. So right here, right now is the point in the video where I want you to understand that if you want to row like the people that you see in the Olympics and you're inspired by what they do, this machine is not going to let you do that. But if you're okay with getting more of kind of a half or a 3/4 stroke, then, you know, this is what that allows you to do. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's get into the resistance settings. So resistance level 1, here's what it sounds and feels like if I try to row at an intense pace. So you can see that it's pretty low resistance. You don't feel much, so you can go pretty fast you can see that it's kind of sliding a little bit on the ground. This is on a rug. If it was on hardwood, it would probably be a little bit more steady. So be mindful of that. But you can see, or you can hear, that it's very, very quiet. I mean, I'm wearing a microphone here, but you can still barely hear it. In fact, I'll turn off the mic and you can listen. Very quiet. And if we crank up the resistance to 16, beep, 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 and we give it a try, this thing all of a sudden gets pretty heavy, ooh, and intense. This is actually probably one of the hardest resistance settings I've ever felt on a rower. And a lot of people probably won't even need to get the resistance this high. Because yeah, that takes some work. And you can actually get a pretty good workout with your half strokes and these higher resistances. Take a listen, I'll turn my mic off again. Very quiet, but creates a very smooth resistance too, which is something you sometimes don't often see with magnetic rowers. You can kind of like rip through the resistance, but this keeps it pretty heavy. It's pretty hard to rip through that unless you're on the upper echelon of strength and power. So most people won't even probably be using that high of a resistance, so even setting it to something like 9 or 10 creates more of what you would feel on a more traditional rowing machine, or what you'd experience more rowing out on the water. So props to this company for making a good feeling magnetic rower that's very affordable. Because again, cheap and magnetic, usually a combination for no-no in a very strange feeling rowing stroke. But this actually feels pretty good. But what about the monitor? Where is the monitor? Well, it's actually the resistance dial itself. And so, it's kind of crappy, as it is with a lot of these budget rowers, where it's kind of constantly scanning through a variety of different metrics. At least this rower will tell you your strokes per minute, your stroke rate, but it cycles through time, stroke rate, miles per hour. You don't want miles per hour when you're rowing. No one uses miles per hour. The distance is tracked in miles. You don't track miles on rowers, you track meters. It tracks your calorie burn, whatever that means, even though it's different for every single person. And it tries to give you the most important metric in rowing, which is the split per 500 meters or the pace per 500 meters. But it gives you numbers that are just really out of whack. 5-minute splits, 6-minute splits, and you'll never see that, even rowing on something like a Concept 2, which gives you the most accurate form of split per 500s. It's like impossible to row a 6-minute split. So it's just not accurate and it's not consistent. And when it comes to measuring the speed and the splits, you can kind of cheese it by just having a high stroke rate. That will give you a fast split and a fast miles per hour compared to if you were rowing hard, heavy, strong, and efficient strokes, which is what should give you the fast miles per hour and the fast split per 500. But doing this gets you faster, which is so unfortunate, but also kind of expected. When you get the more affordable rowers, you kind of get these monitors that don't give you all the best details that you need to be successful long term. So to be honest, using this monitor on its own, boy, I mean, there's nothing really of merit to look at. But this company does have a companion app that you can use for your iPhone or for your iPad, which, by the way, I recommend using a tablet device because on the screen, which I'll pop up right here, you can see that the metrics, the numbers on them are actually pretty small, even though it reports them all on one screen, which is nice. Finally. But I've got some pretty good vision, and even for me, it was kind of hard to see all the metrics that I was trying to look at while reading it off of my phone. So use a tablet or wear your glasses. But what's nice about this app is that it's free. It comes with the machine. I'm pretty sure they used to charge for it, but it says like, oh, use with subscription, but then you just hit OK and it just lets you do it. So I don't think it requires a subscription anymore, which is so good. That's so good. It gives some options to pair with your rower, especially when this little monitor on its own doesn't really give you much. I was surprised to find that there are actually some instructor-led classes on the app. Interestingly enough, the instructors were rowing on the water rower versions of their rowing machines, which, if you notice, allow you to reach your hands past your feet, unlike the magnetic versions that we talked about earlier. Now, there were 3 different instructors that I found, and to be honest, one of them had really good rowing form, one of them had decent, okay kind of rowing form, one had really, really, really bad form. So props primarily to this guy, though, for taking the time to learn to row correctly and instruct it properly too. Now, all 3 of these instructors, you can tell that English isn't their first language. So first off, props to them for just even, like, I don't know, anyone who learns English as a second language, I'm like, how do you even do that? English is so stupid. If you aren't raised knowing it, I don't know how you learn it. It's crazy. So props to them. Their explanation of, the sequencing and such, like, it gives you the basics, but if you're looking for like pure raw power motivation kind of things, the language barrier there, and it sounds like a slight lack of overall experience being an instructor, it kind of shows through. You'd probably be much better off following along with me on my rowing app, Just Row, where there's hundreds of follow-along workouts with me, where you row along with me and I coach you every step of the way through structured programs that span 4, 6, 8, and 12 weeks. With new workouts going up every month and new programs dropping all the time, it's the most affordable yet effective rowing program for you and whatever rower you're using. You can click the links down in the description to check it out, or just go to the App Store and type in Just Row and you'll see it. So if you like my videos and you like how I talk about and explain rowing, I think you're really gonna like the app, so check it out if you're interested. One of the interesting features of the Merach app was the racing, where you can race on different race courses. It kind of gives you like a Google Maps look of the race course, so it's nothing crazy scenic or anything like that, but you can race others that have rowed the same race, and you follow your icon along the race course. The first time I did it, I was getting my butt kicked, and I didn't know why. But then I remembered, oh wait, rowing good and rowing fast doesn't come from long, efficient strokes on this machine. You could totally cheese the races by just pulling your arms as fast as you want. So that makes that potentially cool feature kind of gimmicky, unfortunately. Now, there was one feature on the app that I was actually like, oh, okay, like pretty impressed with. And it was this boss challenge feature mode, where it gives you these like CGI locations on your way to fight a big boss battle. And along the way, you encounter like power-ups that will either help you reduce the resistance to give you more speed, more stroke rate, or power downs that will up your resistance and make it harder and heavier to row through. So it gives you kind of a dynamic, engaging experience, which was pretty cool. I mean, you could just sit there and not row at all and it will still kind of bring you through the course, but it still made it a pretty fun and engaging way to, row along. I was very curious to keep going to get to the boss battle that came at the end. But, it gives you, again, an animated, like, epic experience that you wouldn't expect to get from just sitting on this thing at home. And so whether you're rowing hard or fast or slow or not slow, you're still getting the same kind of experience throughout, but visually, it's pretty captivating. The little power-ups are cool, even though, like, there's definitely some typos up there. There's definitely a language barrier, too, where, you just see these kind of typos all over the app, honestly, which isn't the end of the world, but it does kind of make it seem a little less quality. I did encounter a few bugs as far as a few crashes go, and also lots of loading screens that would sometimes happen mid-row. I couldn't even finish one of my boss battles because I got stuck on a loading screen for minutes and minutes and minutes before it crashed. So it looks like they're still working out the bugs according to their current review score on the App Store. But credit where credit's due, the free app that it comes along with actually has quite a few different features for you to play around and check out with. And if you're looking for more of kind of a simple rowing experience overall, like, I don't know what your goals specifically are with rowing, but if you're just looking to dabble here and there, like, it's got some dabbling on the app for sure. And those instructor-led workouts too are definitely gonna give you some of the basics to practice with. I think there's a lot of potential with that app, and if they can work out these bug fixes, maybe put in more of things like those boss battles and those more visually captivating, engaging experiences, I think it's gonna make the app more worthwhile. But if I were them, I'd also probably remove the workouts with this coach right here. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing. Sorry, dude. That's not a personal attack on him. He just doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, final thoughts. Well, I mean, for $200 when this thing is on sale, you get a pretty decent rowing experience. Can you get a good workout on this machine, even if you're somebody who's very experienced in rowing? Yes, you absolutely can, with the variety of different resistance settings that actually provide a good level of resistance, even with the shortened stroke that the hardware kind of forces you to have. You can break a sweat, you can get your heart rate high, and you can have a good workout. I always like to imagine, okay, would this rower be good with something like my Follow Along Rowing Workout app? And it totally would. As far as being able to progress and see your improvements though, as far as like your power goes, or the split per 500s, because it's not very consistent with that, it's gonna be hard to gauge your numerical, metrical improvement with rowing over time. But if you're looking to row to just burn some calories and get a good sweat going, this can do the job. So as far as should you buy this or not, you need to be very clear on what you want out of rowing. If you're looking to really invest into rowing as exercise for weight loss, for continual improvement, it's something you want to do for years and years and years, this is not the machine for you. If you are looking to dabble into rowing and see if you like it and give it a try because Amazon has a 30-day return policy, this would be a rower to give a try, to see if you like it, to explore some of the stuff that you can do on the app, but also all the free stuff you can get from me or other YouTubers on YouTube, to see if you want to mix rowing in with your other workout routine you're doing. If you're looking to dabble and explore, this might be for you. But if you're looking for anything more than that, I'm telling you, you save up a couple $100 extra and you get a used Concept 2 from Facebook Marketplace or something. Concept 2s just last you forever, and getting a used one for $500-600, that's still pretty cheap and what I would consider the best budget rower. So if you are in a position where you can wait a little longer and save a little more money, that's what I would do. But like I said, you can get in a good workout on this machine, and I was pleasantly surprised to have a better experience on this than I was initially expecting when it first came to the door. So those are my thoughts on the Merach Magnetic Rower, currently one of the best sellers on Amazon right now. What are your thoughts on this rower? Do you own this rower? Do you like it? Are there things you like about the app? Is this something you would give a try? Let me know all your thoughts down below, and let me know what you'd like me to review next, and I'll see if I can get my hands on a machine for a true and honest review, because all I want to do is give you the info you need for your buying power and to make the right choice for you. But anyway, thanks so much for watching the video. I'm Austin with Training Tall. Check out my app, Just Row, and a lot of other resources I offer on my website, trainingtall.net, if you want one-on-one coaching with me or you want to join one of my group challenges. But thanks so much, and I will see you in the next video.